Well, I feel awful special today, guys. A friend of mine brought this pump to me the other day. This here is the injection pump off of a deuce and a half, off the LDT 465. Basically the same principle as the LDS 465, found in your older multi-fuel military vehicles. And what I like about this is that it gives me an opportunity to share with you some of the tips and tricks of working with these pumps, and maybe try and take some of the fear and mystery out of these pumps that a lot of you guys have. It is a good pump. It is for sale, but until that point in time, there's a few things that we can work on here just for educational purposes. Sorry if my camera is a little bit shaky, but this is my phone, and I don't have a new mount made up for this new phone, so yeah. But hey, at least you don't gotta look at me. So yeah, I'm gonna get some stuff brought out and review some of the stuff with this pump for y'all. So for part one, what I want to talk about is your hydraulic head. More often than not, when somebody tells you that they lost their injection pump on their multi-fuel, it's not the whole pump that goes bad. It's actually just this head. In Steel Soldiers, on that website, if you're a fan of that page at all, I have a technical write-up under my ID, Kenny's at wi.rr.com, where I go through the steps of removing and then rebuilding this hydraulic head. Back when I had my deuce and a half, not too far off from even now, I have more time on my hands than money. So at that point in time, to buy a new pump, you were looking at anywhere between $1,500 and $2,000 easily to get a new pump. Hydraulic heads, if you could find somebody that had one, again, you were looking at $1,000 or more at that time. That was just undoable for me, considering that was more than I had paid for the whole truck when I gotten it, back when you could actually buy deuce and a halves cheap. So I decided I would see about rebuilding the hydraulic head, and I called up a few diesel shops around here in my local area, and of course they all told me the same thing. That is not a rebuildable part. You just can't do it. And because this is a working pump, and I don't want to take this pump apart, but I could show you the steps to actually remove this and show you the underside of this head, where you can see that it's actually a press fit cage, if you will, over, we'll see if I can actually get focused. There's a gear inside of here. Yeah, you can kind of see the teeth there. But there's a press fit cage around that gear, and you got to get that cage off very gingerly. Then there's a butterfly brace in there, and that butterfly brace had broken on mine, and it broke after there's a plunger inside of here got stuck. So what I did is I went over to my dad's place, and of course, you know, being the old mechanic that he was, he still had some very fine lapping compound in one of his toolboxes. And what we did is we gingerly took that head apart, the cage off of it, slid the gear off, slid that butterfly clamp out of there, and then lightly tapped out the plunger. And again, if you're familiar with Steel Soldiers, Gimpy Rob sent me a new butterfly and a new plunger, because my plunger had a chip out of it on the bottom where the button would ride. And we slowly, very slowly, with a drill and that lapping compound, just slowly spun that plunger in and out of the bore, and we were able to knock the ridges off of that bore and actually get that whole thing cleaned up. And to this day, that's well over 5 years ago now, that truck was still running until the new owner blew it up. But the pump is still good. In fact, I just dropped them off a new motor the other day, and they're going to start putting that new motor in the truck. And the new motor did not come with a pump, so we're going to be able to transfer that pump right over to the new motor, and that head that I rebuilt all those years ago is going to still be running strong to this day. It took me some time. It was quite a learning experience. Definitely showed people that I knew what I was talking about when I put that tech article together. So there were some things though that were learned, some valuable lessons that were learned. After we got everything back together, you know, we discovered all about the O-rings that go in here, and that'll be in our next segment. But anyway, on to some points about this pump. This part is known as your hydraulic head. Common failure point of this pump. What you can do is you take this plug out. That's all it is a plug. And if you put a wooden dowel or a brass drift on there and turn the truck over, if that dowel is not going up and down, you know that your plunger is stuck, and that's your problem. Definitely unplug your fuel pump though beforehand, because otherwise you will have fuel come shooting out of here. This is your FDC, or your fuel density compensator. On this particular pump, you can see with this hose here, it is not bypassed. So what you would do is basically eliminate this line altogether, and just come right in here to bypass this. Alright, on the underside right here is your actual high pressure pump. You have a low pressure pump inside your fuel tank, and what that does is it comes up into one side, and then this is a gear pump, and this will build your pressure from about 10 psi on up to around 45 to 60 psi to come out here before it goes on to your secondary fuel filters. Alright, under this cap here, which we won't be able to focus on unfortunately, are your timing marks. Now, one thing I want to point out is these pumps are actually kind of spring loaded in a way. When you think you have your timing set, it will bounce back. So I'm going to try and show you there. Okay, I'm turning this a little bit, I'm going to let go, and see it springs back. So you'll have that lined up with your timing mark, but this will actually shoot back one tooth when you go to put it in. So it's a real pleasure to put in. Alright, onward to another point, your throttle. So this here is what makes your truck go. Right here is your fuel shutoff. This is a cool little piece right here, I tell you, and we're going to make a video all about just this part here, and how this works to shut your fuel down. Alright, she's a little tight right now, and I'll explain why it's so tight in another video here. Under this cap here, if you're daring and you want to turn your fuel up, that's the cap where you would turn it up. So this is sitting on your motor kind of like this here at a slight angle, and that's the cap that everybody's talking about to take off to turn up your fuel. So I'm going to end this video for now, and when I come back with our next video, we're going to talk all about your fuel shutoff here.